Some birds can't be stopped. You don't even want to call me godfather. While you are young, you should write down your own experiences that you can remember and publicize them. Never feel homesick. Never go home. One day we look back and think that Saving Private Ryan is a masterpiece we accomplished in this war-torn era. I am willing to do anything for you except betray my own people. When God closes a door, he opens a window somewhere. Freedom. With you, the world is more interesting. The Kodak Theater, special effects diamonds fall on the big screen, each representing a movie. On the huge surface of the diamond, the vivid movie characters tell their stories. The Shawshank Redemption, Papillon, Cinema Paradiso, Saving Private Ryan, Ben-Hur, The Sound of Music, Braveheart, The Silence of the Lambs. Eventually, the diamonds fell one by one and piled up to form a hill, and in the center of the mountain was the little golden figure that symbolized Oscar. Then the host took the stage, and this year's person in this position was Steve Martin, actor, screenwriter, and director. He has been in the film industry for more than 20 years, is a well-known comedian, and is also an old friend of many people present. The camera swept over the stage, and the stars stood up one after another, and Eric's seat was arranged in the first row near the aisle. He didn't know Steve Martin. He just clapped his hands symbolically, only to have the camera suddenly slide to him. I had no choice but to grin and get up from my seat and applaud. Maybe the organizing committee took into account his identity. He didn't have a crew, and it was the first time to participate, so he was given a prominent seat in the first row, but Eric didn't really want to sit here. Because this handsome face will definitely attract the camera frequently, which will make him very uncomfortable. Shit, who gave me a seat? These guys from the academy. After the applause, everyone sat down again. Steve Martin smiled and said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you all. Everyone knows that I didn't be a host last year because no one wanted me." Chuckle rang out from the audience. But this year I'm back on the stage, and I know it's the result of everyone's support, except, of course, France and Germany. As soon as these words came out, the audience burst into laughter, because this was a naked ridicule of war. Although the United States claims to have rallied 49 countries to carry out military strikes against Iraq, so far only the United States, Britain, Australia, and Poland have actually participated in the war. Germany and France, both members of the European Union and often wear the same pants as the United States, have expressed their opposition and publicly condemned them, which can be described as a slap in the face. Look at you guys. There are producers, directors, screenwriters, and actors. If you are trapped here, I will eat you in order. Laughter rang out again from the audience. This is also a joke, and the ridicule is the power of the crew. Generally speaking, the producer boss and the actor are the worst. At the same time, the camera was also given to Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Harvey Weinstein, Eric, and other producers or directors. Damn, why did you put me in the same frame as this Weinstein guy? Eric spat as he clapped his hands. Shit, why do you want me to be in the same frame as that little imp at MGM? He doesn't deserve to sit in that position. Harvey Weinstein also laughed and thought to himself. Since Cooper and his son became MGM, it has been like a bar with Miramax, either rushing to the schedule or cutting the box office. Once by accident and twice by accident, but several times in a row, the Weinstein brothers naturally felt deliberately targeted. But the truth is that the Coopers didn't specifically target him. Although Eric knows this guy's virtue, the other party is not provocative, and he will not be idle to make enemies for himself. After all, it is Disney standing behind Miramax. So I can only say that the Weinstein brothers are unlucky. The schedule is so crowded. I can't afford to wait. Then everyone can only compete. What? You said I should avoid you and go head-to-head with the Lord of the Rings. Why aren't you? Especially after the announcement of the schedule of Transformers. The smell of gunpowder between Cooper and his sons and the Weinstein brothers has gradually ignited. On stage, Steve Martin continued to make quips. This year is the 75th Oscars, and looking back, the first Oscars were held just down the street next door, inside the Roosevelt Hotel. You guys can go out and see. Just walk down Hollywood Boulevard and go around the prostitutes, sorry. It's supposed to be the pretty woman, and then you can see it, and in 1929, all the big stars were gathered there, except John Wadeseth. This time, the audience laughed even happier, and the camera showed several black stars, clapping their hands with their mouths wide open. The reason is that back then, the Oscars were forbidden to black people, and the joke was naturally a joke about racism. After telling a few political jokes and social jokes, Steve Martin also restrained himself. After all, it was during the war, and he began to make fun of celebrities. Ben Affleck, Will Smith, Tobey Maguire, and others were all joking. Nicole Kidman, she is here today, and I suddenly remembered a rumor about her. It turns out that she has been acting with a fake nose, except for All the Time. Camera immediately gave the crew of All the Time, and Nicole Kidman made an article on her nose in order to fit the character prototype as closely as possible during filming. After watching it, many viewers said that they couldn't find her in the movie, which also caused heated discussions at the time. Teased, Nicole Kidman lowered her head with one hand over her mouth and waved the other hand to signal that she was not joking with me. Meryl Streep and Julianne Moore, who were in the same crew, clapped their hands and laughed. This year's Oscars, if you want to say that the most lively crew, is probably All the Moment. All three actresses were shortlisted and started a nest fight. Nicole Kidman is going to compete with Julianne Moore for Best Actress, and Julianne Moore is going to compete with Meryl Streep for Best Supporting Actress. However, the films shortlisted by the three are not the same. Nicole Kidman was shortlisted for All the Time, Julianne Moore was shortlisted for Far From Heaven, and Meryl Streep was shortlisted for Adapted Screenplay. Nicole, don't bow your head, because you're looking good. And then there's our new head, Eric Cooper, who is the Transformers director that countless people are looking forward to, and there's a mystery in him, which is whether he really understands directing. The camera shows Eric a second time, and chuckles follow around him, and he can hear Peter Jackson laughing the loudest. In this case, it is natural to do something, or cooperate with some antics, or refuse to be tactful like Nicole Kidman. But Eric certainly won't admit it, pointing to his eyes at the camera and giving 2 thumbs up. The meaning is self-evident. Let's see. I'll give you a good look. Wait. Saw Eric make this move, and the scene that was originally just a chuckle suddenly boiled. No one doesn't like to watch the excitement. The bigger the brand, the more people like to watch it, and in the eyes of the stars at the scene, Eric Cooper's statement is too interesting. If the film is made well, even if it is only at the passing level, it is enough to silence the media. But if you don't shoot well, I'm sorry, today's events, including your past words, will be dug up and whipped, and those media will not care about your identity, and they will ridicule you when they should ridicule you. At this moment, many people laughed in their hearts, such as Harvey Weinstein, Jack Nicholson. The rich second generation really took it for granted and regarded making movies as a game. But there are also people who think that young people should be like this, to be energetic and challenging, such as Nicole Kidman, Adrian Brody, Edward Norton, Natalie Portman. Besides, Eric is still so handsome. What's wrong with being arrogant? If I had his wealth and looks, I would be more arrogant than him. On stage, Steve Martin laughed. He just teased. He didn't expect the other party to take the job. Eric Cooper, he's taken those media challenges. I'm going to give you guys a good look. Remember this day. The happiest thing in the world is to strive for an ideal. Immediately afterwards, Steve Martin joked about a series of people, things, organizations, and hot spots such as homosexuality, the mafia, and Roman Polanski. Compared with 20 years later, public opinion is indeed relatively relaxed. Well, I know the joke I tell sucks, So let it end here and ask Cameron Diaz to present the award for Best Animated Feature. In the melodious background music, the glamorous and beautiful Cameron Diaz took center stage. With the progress of the times, animation technology has become better and better, and in the past, it was parents who took their children to see it, but now children take their parents to watch it, and both men and women and children enjoy it. I'm presenting the award for Best Animated Feature Film, and the shortlisted films are Chris Weck for Ice Age, Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois for Star Baby, Kelly Asbury and Rona Cook for Spill It, Pony Spill It, Ron Clemens for Treasure Island, and Hayao Miyazaki for Spirited Away. Cameron Diaz opened the white envelope and announced, "Winner of Spirited Away, Hayao Miyazaki." Theater burst into applause, but Miyazaki refused to attend because he opposed the U.S. invasion of Iraq, and the award was received on his behalf. Immediately afterwards, Keanu Reeves presented the Best Visual Effects Award, which was won by The Lord of the Rings Gollum. Best Supporting Actor went to Chris Cooper for Adapted Screenplay. Best Editing, Best Sound, Best Costume Design, Best Art Direction all went to Chicago. The Chicago crew has also become the busiest crew so far, and the PR effect is visible, and Harvey Weinstein can't stop laughing. There are also cabaret performances and other entertainment programs in between, but to be honest, Eric finds it a little boring. Like my dad said, "What are you going to do there without your work?" And some non-nutritious technical awards can't attract attention, and everyone is waiting for the Wait Awards behind. Seeing Eric yawn, Nicolas Cage, who was sitting next to him, leaned his head over. "It's a bit boring, isn't it?" Eric looked at him in surprise. "It's more boring than The Wind Whisperer, right?" Poof. The sudden commotion made Eric not hold back, and he laughed directly, immediately attracting all the eyes around him. The two hurriedly adjusted their demeanor, but the photographer was really keen and decisively captured it again. Just when the time for the award of Best Supporting Actress arrived, Matthew McConaughey walked up, and this somewhat weighty award brought everyone's attention back. As a result, the Best Supporting Actress award was once again won by Catherine Zeta-Jones of Chicago, who came to the stage with a big belly to accept the award. So far, Chicago has won 5 statuettes, which can be described as the biggest winner on the field. Then the ruffian Eminem Way, the theme song of 8 Mile, Lose Yourself, won the Oscar for Best Original Song, becoming the first rap song to win an Oscar. At this moment, the awards party came to the Best Foreign Language Film section. This year's finalists include The Sins of Father Amaro in Mexico, Heroes in China, The Man Without a Past in Finland, Zoos and Zo in the Netherlands, and What is Home in Germany. The camera swept over, and Eric also followed. Zhang Yimou sat with 2 people he didn't know. As for Jet Li, Tony Leung, Maggie Cheung, and other actors, I haven't seen any of them, although the number of places in each crew is limited, but the operation of not bringing an actor is really incomprehensible. As a result, Eric already knew that Hero lost the Oscar, and the Best Foreign Language Film was awarded to the German film What is Home. Frankly speaking, Eric appreciates the movie Hero very much, and the shooting is really good, especially the color scheduling and big scenes, which maintain Zhang Yimou's consistent level. But in this era, it has been criticized, and it has been criticized for the thin plot and sparse cuts, and Eric feels a little wronged. In the camera, as the results were revealed, Zhang Yimou also applauded. As for what he thought in his heart, no one knows. Immediately after that, several technical awards were sent out, and the party also came to a climax. Best Actor went to Adrien Brody, who beat out Jack Nicholson, Daniel Day-Lewis, Michael Caine, and Nicolas Cage to become the youngest Oscar winner at the age of 29. Adrien Brody was very excited and probably didn't expect to win the award, so after he came on stage, he hugged the award presenter Black Pearl Halle Berry and kissed the latter. He then gave an acceptance speech and called for an end to the war and world peace, as he had said in the previous interview. The theater also ushered in cheers and offered blessings to the youngest actor. Adrien Brody's award this time is definitely an upset, and anyone with a discerning eye can see that it was affected by the war, which can be said to have taken advantage of the right time and place. After the Best Actor, the Best Actress award is presented. Denzel Washington strode onto the stage, and as he spoke, the works of the best actresses of all time began to play on the big screen, many of whom were even sitting below. Katharine Hepburn, Vivien Leigh, Ingrid Bergman, Audrey Hepburn, Meryl Streep, Jodie Foster, Susan Sarandon, Halle Berry, Gwyneth Paltrow. Well, the last one can be removed. The Oscar nominees for Best Actress are Salma Hayek, Frida; Diane Lane, Infidelity; Julianne Moore, Far From Heaven; Renee Zellweger, Chicago; Nicole Kidman, All the Time. Each of the 5 glamorous women on the big screen has a corner. Denzel Washington gently opened the envelope. The winner was Nicole Kidman, who narrowly defeated a nose. In an instant, the theater burst into applause, and everyone around them sent hugs and blessings to Nicole Kidman. Her smile couldn't be suppressed at all. A few stars already flowed out of the corners of her eyes. She stood up and hugged the crew, and then walked through the crowd towards the stage. But that's when the unexpected happened. As Kirsten Dunst said, stumbling is the enemy of every female star. Perhaps too excited, Nicole Kidman walked quickly, and the heel inadvertently stepped on the black skirt, and the whole person instantly lost his balance and fell to the ground. Seeing that Nicole Kidman was about to fall, exclamations suddenly sounded around him, and many people who reacted quickly wanted to go over and help, but it was obviously too late. Just when Nicole Kidman thought she was going to lie on the ground, a large hand suddenly appeared and wrapped its arms around her abdomen. Then she felt a gentle force coming from her lower abdomen, not big, but enough to push her up. Because Nicole Kidman was too thin at this time, in order to play All the Time, well, she lost more than 12 pounds again, and now she is a little thin. Under the force of the force, Nicole Kidman fell backwards from forward, and behind her there was a strong arm ready to greet her. Looking at the young and handsome face in front of her with some surprise, Nicole Kidman only felt her heart pounding, and she couldn't tell if it was fright or something else. Eric slowly helped her up. "Are you okay?" Nicole. After a moment's pause, Nicole Kidman reacted. "Yes, I'm fine. It was an unexpected scene for me, but thank you for being here, Eric." Eric smiled. "It's just the right time, and I would like to thank the Academy for arranging my seat here. Go and receive the award. Everyone is looking forward to your wonderful speech." "Thank you." Leaving Eric's embrace, Nicole Kidman waved to the side, signaling that she was okay, and then continued to walk on the stage. And the videographer has captured the whole process, and tonight will be a wonderful moment to be released. The combination of handsome guys and beauties, or heroes saving beauty, this tone is liked all over the world, and it will definitely increase the ratings of the Oscar broadcast by a few percentage points. Walking onto the stage and hugging Denzel Washington, Nicole Kidman continued to walk over to the microphone and begin to give her acceptance speech. "I'm very excited now. I didn't expect to win the award. Let me think about it. I am very grateful to the crew of All the Time, although they told me not to cry, but to be honest, I still can't help it." Audience immediately burst into applause. This woman was nominated for Actress last year for Moulin Rouge, but unfortunately lost to Halle Berry's Dance of Death Row, and this time it is well-deserved. Thank you to David Hale and Michael Cunningham for writing such a good story. Thank you to Stephen Dudley for having the audacity to enable me. Thank you Julianne Moore and Meryl Streep for stimulating my performance. And thank you to the Academy. Thank you for your willingness to give me the award. Thank you very much. And then I would like to say that these are difficult times. The war is making everyone uncomfortable. Many people have lost relatives and friends. Let us pray together, hope that the war will end soon, and hope that peace will come as soon as possible. while thanking and issuing an anti-war declaration. This is the mainstream of this year's Oscars. Nicole Kidman's speech naturally resonated and applauded from the audience. But just when everyone thought she was done, Nicole Kidman didn't step down. "I know the time is up, but please don't rush me, because I have one person to thank in particular. You've all just seen me almost fall and make a fool of myself, and my mind was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fall down on this occasion and accept the award in a state of shame, and that's definitely the scariest thing that can happen." But at this time the young man appeared, so I would like to thank him and hope that everyone will give Eric Cooper a round of applause. The camera was given to Eric again, and he couldn't help but grin when he listened to the applause that the audience gave him. This time the laughter was real. Nicole Kidman walks off the stage with the golden figure and suddenly stops when she walks in front of Eric, then bends down and gives him a hug. "I forgot just now I make up for it." A woman's murmur ringed in his ears, and Eric could see her underwear and unspeakable secrets very clearly. It's a pity that the glamorous picture only lasted a few seconds, and this glamorous new actress returned to her seat, which made Eric feel a little regretful. So far, there are only 2 awards left in the awards gala: Best Director and Best Picture. In the background music of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford walked to the center of the stage in a graceful manner. In the history of Hollywood, there are countless films that have brought us rich emotional experiences and made a profound impact on society, and these films are in the hands of directors who are the people I admire the most. This year's Oscar nominees for Best Director are Martin Scorsese for Gangs of New York, Rob Marshall for Chicago, Stephen Dudley for The Moment, Roman Polanski for The Pianist, and Pedro Almodovar for Say to Her. On the screen, Martin Scorsese, Rob Marshall, Stephen Dudley, and Pedro Almodovar have different expressions. Old Martin is the most breezy and lighthearted. After all, he has already won Cannes and the Silver Lion, and he is considered an old-timer. Even if he desperately desires the Oscar, he will be very reserved. Some of the other 3 people were staring at the stage, and some were holding their hands on their chests. They were really nervous. As for Roman Polanski, well, he has only one photo. The winner is Roman Polanski's The Pianist. Before Harrison Ford could finish speaking, there was thunderous applause on the field, and Martin Scorsese first pouted visibly, showing his inner loss, and then clapped his hands to send blessings. It could be seen that he was really disappointed, and the other 3 were probably the same. Harrison Ford continued, "Congratulations to Roman Polanski on the award, which was not present and was taken by the Academy." Indiana Jones had just stepped down, and veteran actor Kirk Douglas and son Michael Douglas took the stage. The father and son duo can be said to be evergreens in the film industry, and they will present the final award. The camera also showed Catherine Zeta-Jones, who had just won the Best Supporting Actress, who married Michael Douglas in 2000 and was still pregnant with each other's sons. However, it is better that this son is not born, because when he grows up, he will become a drug dealer and addict, and the family's reputation will be ruined. Seeing Kirk Douglas speak in a slow tone, Eric has a feeling of watching Dungzi. The difference is that he is deliberate, and people are not confused. Father and son made a witty remark and then got to the point. The Oscars for Best Picture are Gangs of New York, All the Time, The Lord of the Rings 2, The Two Towers, Chicago, and The Pianist. The camera was given to the crew of the 5 films, and everyone showed a nervous and expectant look. If the best director is to commend the individual, the best film is to commend the whole. It's an honor for all. In his seat, Eric leaned back. He was too lazy to watch. He knew that the award would be taken away by Chicago anyway. But when he thought of Harvey Weinstein's ugly fat man drinking and cheering after Chicago won the award, he felt sick in his heart and hurried to end it. On stage, the Douglas father and son opened the envelope, split the paper in 2, and then put it together and said loudly, "The winner is The Pianist." What? Eric jerked up from his seat, then realized that he was not the winner, and hurriedly sat down again. This time, Nicolas Cage looked at him in surprise. "Eric, it seems that you really like The Pianist, and you are even more excited than yourself." "Oh yes, that's right. The Pianist is really a really good anti-war movie. It's great," Eric replied absent-mindedly, but strangely in his heart, recalling it countless times in his mind. "That's right. My memory can't be wrong. It should be Chicago that won the award." But the reality in front of him was that The Pianist won Best Picture, and Adrien Brody had already hugged and celebrated with the writers and producers, and the excited laughter reached him. Looked back at the crew of Chicago again. Although they were also applauding, the loss on their faces couldn't be suppressed. Especially Harvey Weinstein's half-orc face. Even if he tried to make a dashing and generous expression, the twitching corners of his mouth betrayed his mood. I'm afraid that in order to get the Best Picture, he spent a lot, but unfortunately it backfired. And without the blessing of this most important honor, the income from the copyright and discs of Chicago will at least be cut in half, and the award is money. Seeing that this dead fat man was unhappy, Eric's heart was happy. No matter what caused him to change the result, it was a good change. Robert Ben Moussa, the producer of The Pianist, took to the stage to deliver his acceptance speech, and finally, with Steve Martin's closing remarks, the 75th Academy Awards came to an end. But the end of the awards ceremony doesn't mean it's over, and there's also the Vanity Fair party dinner, where the winners can show off their little figurines to the fullest. At the party, there is no need to worry so much. Female stars can change into their favorite clothes and paint the brightest makeup. Male celebrities can also eat and drink, except for those who are full before they come, sitting for more than 3 hours, plus before and after admission and preparation time. The duration is close to 5 hours, and everyone is already hungry. Walking out of the Kodak Theater, Eric looked at the female stars who got into the car one by one, and many of them would complete the change of clothes inside. And when he arrives at the party, it has already become a star-studded stage. Oscar wants to advocate frugality and anti-war. Vanity Fair is not used. The red carpet should be rolled out, and the atmosphere is up. A large number of media gathered here, and the flashing lights were almost turning the roof white. Adrien Brody, the youngest new actor in Oscar history, is taking a photo with actress Nicole Kidman. Seeing Eric, a handsome young man, walk in, the reporters immediately shouted, "Eric, let's take a picture." "Director Cooper, we've been waiting for you for a long time." "Cooper, take a picture, you're going to be photogenic." Eric waved his hand and walked straight forward, signaling that he didn't mean that. "I'm not a big star, and I haven't won an award, so what do I do?" At this time, Adrien Brody playfully abdicated to make way for Sienne, and Nicole Kidman's voice came, "Come here, Eric, you don't want to leave me alone." Smack was suddenly pushed in the back, and Peter Jackson grinned. It's not good to refuse an invitation from a beautiful woman, and it's a new actress. Show your gentlemanly demeanor. "Och!" shrugged his shoulders, and Eric walked over to the large group of reporters and stood with Nicole Kidman. The sound of the shutter pressing suddenly rang nonstop, and a pose was quickly shot. Then Nicole Kidman turned her head and whispered, "Eric, you can put your arms around my waist." Two were already very close, and she turned her head as if she wanted to kiss Eric on the face. As the saying goes, entertainment reporters are faster than dogs, and they suddenly began to play with their lives. "Nicole, Eric saved you at the party. Are you going to kiss your own hero?" Kissing is definitely not kissing, at least not in public, and Eric took advantage of the situation to hug Nicole Kidman's slender waist. Although it is still winter, the female star is really fighting. Everyone seems to be not afraid of the cold, and the glamorous woman next to her is wearing a backless outfit. The feeling on the hand is very good, slippery, tender. Although he is in his 30s, The skin maintenance is no worse than that of a girl like Godot, or even better. After the group photo, Eric's fingers slid lightly over Nicole Kidman's back, and the two looked at each other and smiled. Without giving the reporters a chance to ask him sensitive questions and giving up his place to someone else, Eric went straight inside the venue. A large number of celebrities gathered here, both unknown and unacquainted, and everyone laughed while talking in twos and threes. Picking up a glass of champagne and looking at the food prepared on the table, Eric was thinking about what to eat first when Spielberg's voice sounded behind him. "Are you hungry?" "Yes, at least that's what my stomach thinks. It's in desperate need of carbs and calories right now." Spielberg smiled and exclaimed, "It's good to be young. When I'm your age, I wake up in the middle of the night and drink 2 more beers and eat a big piece of bacon, the size of a human face. It's a pity that it can't be done now. I'm 57 years old, and I can only get a slice of bread and a few cherries at most, and I have to protest if I have more stomachs." Eric drank half a glass of champagne, ate the snack in his mouth, and said in a meaningful tone, "Steven, I never think you're old. No one in Hollywood feels that way. Judging by the speed of your filming, your energy and ambition have never dissipated." As he spoke, he picked up a knife and cut a piece of bacon into 8 pieces. "Let me see if you are still young and want to eat a piece." Spielberg was stunned for a moment. Looking at the young man in front of him who was talking and laughing, he knew what the other party meant. 8 pieces of bacon, but at the moment there are only 7 major studios in Hollywood, and what this 8th piece represents is self-evident. Without any hesitation, Spielberg picked up a plate with his left hand and stabbed it hard with a fork in his right hand. Why not? Passion goes up vanity. Fair party banquet. Eric and Spielberg stood in the corner of the hall, the two of them talking for a while. Looking at the audience, although the stars attract the attention of the camera, the Oscar statuettes are also very dazzling. But those who really know understand that although celebrities get together to be lively, it will be over when the excitement is over, and it will not have much substantive effect. The real bigwigs are people like Eric and Spielberg who don't like to show their heads and are relatively quiet in the corners, but often important decisions are made here. So don't look at the two of them just standing with their backs to the crowd, but there are already many people in the middle who want to get closer. They want to join in, and they can serve tea and pour water, and they don't dislike it. This is the entertainment industry. You don't see William Z using her hands to pick up grape skins in order to please Jackie Chan. However, ideas are ideas after all. Everyone is at different levels, and the serious point is that there is a class gap. Not to mention ordinary stars. Even Spielberg's favorite generals Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio can only watch from afar, and they don't dare to come over without being summoned. I've talked to Jeffrey and David about your proposal since that conversation, and we've discussed it a lot, and they've been interested in it. In fact, Hollywood knows that what DreamWorks lacks most is overseas distribution capabilities, and it would be very advantageous if it could supplement this shortcoming. Eric continued to add food to his mouth. MGM's global distribution capabilities are not as good as Disney's, but they are not weaker than other companies. Steven, I'm curious about how much DreamWorks has earned overseas revenue from its previous films. Speaking of this topic, Spielberg couldn't help but smile wryly. Before you became the owner of MGM, the major companies had already negotiated the price, but in fact, there were only 2 ways in front of DreamWorks, either to directly package and sell the overseas distribution rights like the Titanic, or to take the figure in the range of 22% to 25%. That's it. I thought it would be at least half-opened. Spielberg sighed. You can ask your father. He knows better than anyone else, and he is also involved in the making of the rules. Well, when you say that, I always feel like I've become an exploiter. No, there's no such thing as exploitation and exploitation. It's just that the strength is not equal, and if DreamWorks and MGM were to switch places, I would do the same. Steven, you're pretty open-minded. After being in the industry for a long time, you can naturally see everything, so why bother to get along with yourself? Eric admired Spielberg's open-mindedness, or rather lying flat. Okay, let's talk about cooperation. If MGM and DreamWorks cooperate, MGM is willing to give 45% of the overseas income of DreamWorks films, which is my sincerity. Hearing this, although Spielberg still had that expression, his heart was full of turmoil. He had many conversations with Jeffrey Katzenberg and David Geffen, and the focus of the conversation was, of course, on the issue of DreamWorks' share, which was the focus of his dealings with MGM. Negotiation is originally a process of figuring out each other's psychology and whole cards, and the price range set by the DreamWorks triumvirate in their minds is 35% to 40%. If MGM is willing to concede profits to this extent, DreamWorks' benefits will be directly raised by a notch. So it's not unacceptable to have animation studios fully support MGM, just as Pixar fully supports Disney. And at the very least, you must get 32% of the quota, otherwise there will be no need for cooperation. Spielberg also came to this goal, but what he didn't expect was that Eric was so atmospheric and his mouth was nearly half. It was 5 percentage points higher than his highest psychological expectation, and it was all money, and it was all Green Franklin. At this moment, Spielberg was happy in his heart, and even ecstasy was not too much. With a smile on his face, he swallowed the bacon on the plate directly. And seeing the happy look of this old man, Eric naturally understood what the other party meant. 45%, although MGM will earn less, but the benefits are also obvious. DreamWorks' future works themselves are exclusive overseas distribution, which is equivalent to small profits but quick turnover, small profits in quotation marks. Overall, it's still earning, not to mention that you can tie DreamWorks' best animation department to your own chariot. Why not? So, when will the contract be signed? I think it will be soon, and when David and Jeffrey know the news, they will definitely be willing. Spielberg said with a smile. Try to do it this week. Eric, are you in a hurry? I like to get it down as soon as possible, and it's time for Frozen to get started. Well, I'll call you in this week. After talking to Spielberg, Eric's stomach was full. The purpose of attending this party had been achieved, and there was no need to stay here. After saying goodbye to the old man, he turned and left. The Lamborghini was speeding away, and the clock was already striking midnight, and there were not many pedestrians on the streets of Los Angeles. Even if there were, many of them were gangsters, drunkards, and even criminals. Not long after, already approaching Beverly Hills, Eric's phone suddenly called, and a text message came. Peter, turn around. Huh, where are you going, boss? The driver slowed down steadily and turned the car around. After a pause, Eric said, you get out of the car and find a hotel nearby to stay for the night. Boss suddenly let himself get out of the car. Then there must be something private to do. As an old driver, Peter decisively obeyed. Beverly Hills is a luxury hotel. With its own salary, it is reluctant to open a room here. This time it is just to experience it. Anyway, it is a public account. Eric switched to the main driver, and the Lamborghini continued to gallop, quickly driving into the Beverly Hills range. But instead of heading towards Cooper's location, he drove in the opposite direction. It takes a short time to reach its destination, and this is a grand mansion that is not inferior to the Cooper family. He didn't wait long before he saw a red Rolls-Royce catch up from behind, get close to the Lamborghini and slow down. The window was lowered, and Nicole Kidman winked over. Come with me. Under the guidance of her, the owner, enter the mansion. Natural water, it's a matter of course. The two cars were parked in the open garage, and Eric had just gotten out of the car when he was knocked down on the door by a gust of incense. Here. His lips were cold in response. Hiss. Suddenly, feeling a pain in his tongue, Eric pushed Nicole Kidman away. What are you biting me for? Are you drunk? Nicole Kidman's eyes were confused. No, alcohol can't get me drunk, but seeing your young and handsome face, I can't help but want to bite hard. Well, it seems that you are really not lightly drunk, so let me help you sober up, Eric said viciously. As he spoke, he stepped over and picked up the woman and put her on the hood. See? More. A crisp sound swept through the dark night sky. The woman's skirt was torn, and the evening dress, worth tens of thousands of dollars, turned into a rope for bondage. Eric pressed against Nicole Kidman's back and kissed her softly on the cheek. The woman only felt a fire burning in her chest, and the cold winter night could not resist it, and a low murmur sounded in her ears. What do you want? Without any hesitation. Possess me fiercely. Ah! Hearing the sound of water coming from the side, Eric got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. After finishing in the garage last night, the two returned to their rooms to continue their life harmony. I drank and did it until we couldn't hold it anymore before I fell asleep. I didn't take a shower, and I can't remember how long I did it. It's good to be young. If it's before the crossing, you have to lie in bed for a day to play like this. Pulling open the bathroom door, Nicole Kidman was washing her hair in the shower. When he saw Eric, he immediately complained, "It's all your fault. Now my hair is sticky and uncomfortable." Eric spread his hands and made an innocent expression. "How can you blame me? Can't you be accurate then?" Nicole Kidman said angrily. "You weren't like that last night, woman. What do you want to say?" "Nothing. I mean, I'm here to help you." "Well, you help me open my hair. Yes, that's it. You have to rinse it all up." "Wait. Where are you touching? Take your hands away. I don't want to take a shower again. Ha ha ha." On the sofa, the two of them were wearing warm dressing gowns, and the curtains around them were closed. Although it was day, it was like night. The fireplace is blazing, and the American version of Midnight Bells is playing in the home theater. But the two of them are clearly not paying attention to the movie, even though Sadako is climbing out of the well. "Nicole, I feel weird. Yesterday we were at the Oscars. It was the first time we met, and now you're being held in my arms. It's a magical, incredible feeling. Do you have it?" Nicole Kidman nodded slightly. "Yes, but I don't know what's wrong." "Catharsis? You use me as a tool for catharsis." Eric frowned, and although he told Kalasavini that everyone is a tool, it was clear that no one really wanted to make himself a plaything for someone else to use. Nicole Kidman raised the corner of her eyes and asked in a playful tone, "Little one, does this answer make you uncomfortable?" "Sort of a word." Nicole Kidman got up from Eric's arms, put her arms around his neck and kissed him and said, "Don't think about Eric like that. It has nothing to do with you. It's the experience of the past few years, and I need a chance to vent my feelings." Eric looked at her and listened quietly. "As you know, Tom Cruise and I were married for 11 years, but in 2001, we divorced, and it was a tough one. I came to Hollywood from Australia at the time, and as a newcomer who wasn't a name for himself, I had to deal with a lot of pressure and competition and unspoken rules that could arise at any time. And Tom Cruise showed up, and I married him at the age of 23, and I became the envy of everybody. He used his power to shield me from the storm and to get good resources, and I never denied that, even when I was ridiculed by the media and a lot of people. He's really nice, but except for one thing, which is the root cause of our divorce, he's a believer in Sonda Christ, and I'm a Catholic. Although this sect is called Scientology, it is not scientific at all, and its dogma is unbelievable and unbearable. My father was a psychologist, so I kept trying to persuade Tom Cruise to stay away from Sonda Christ, and it worked in the beginning. But then I was met with the revenge of the Sonda Christ, and the followers went even more frantically to brainwash Cruise and treat me like a thorn in the flesh. They stalked me, spied on me, harassed me all the time, bribed the media to splash dirty water, and portrayed me as a disgusting woman. Even our adopted children are actually religious children, and these two little ones are disgusted with me and hate me under the influence of Sonda Christ. It wasn't until 2001 that Cruz suddenly filed for divorce, knowing that I was still pregnant with his child at that time, and I think it may have been Sonda Christ's fear that after the child was born, Cruz would become out of the control of the church, and in short, the marriage would suddenly end. I was like, it's over, and I even laughed, but those guys didn't want to let me go. Nicole Kidman paused, seemingly recalling a lot of bad things. Perhaps fearing that we would remarry, Sonda Christ quickly arranged a new girlfriend for Tom Cruise and continued to smear me, stalk me, and secretly photograph me. The rhetoric has intensified, and I've become a bitch who deliberately falls on Cruise, and without him, I'm going to be worthless. Even Isabella and Connor, even my kids took me for the little guy who framed their father. That's why I have to prove myself. I have to show those people that I'm no worse than anyone without Tom Cruise. I took over Moulin Rouge, and in order to play the role, I broke one of my ribs, and I broke one of my ribs, but I had to get the actress. It's a pity that I lost to Halle Berry, and then those guys jumped out and called me a scheming woman who struggled and worked hard in marketing. I can't argue without results, but this time I succeeded. I can shut up those vicious devils. I can prove that I'm not a useless woman who relies on Tom Cruise. I can stand in front of everyone and say out loud, I'm Nicole Kidman. I'm an Oscar-winning actress. Saying that, she suddenly cried, which can make a woman who has been in Hollywood for more than 10 years cry, which shows how many grievances she has hidden in her heart. Sighing, Eric hugged Nicole Kidman tightly. He understood the woman's feelings, and he just showed up at the right time. The two hugged for a long time until the end of the movie, when Nicole Kidman's tears were wiped dry. Can I ask you a question, that Nicole? Huh. If someone else saved you at the awards ceremony, wouldn't you? No, what are you thinking? Nicole Kidman glared at him. Then why are we? Nicole Kidman writhed like a water snake, wrapped her hands around Eric's neck, and whispered in his ear, I don't like ugly babies. Well, that's an acceptable reason. Don't talk, kiss me. Huaxia, the Oscars are over, but the discussion about heroes has just begun. People in the entertainment industry in China have expressed comfort to hero. Lu Chuan, actually, it doesn't matter if you win an award or not. The award has something to do with the behind-the-scenes operation, especially a commercial award like the Oscar. The media may have been too optimistic about the peace theme of Hero and had high hopes for it, but the same is true of Germany's Why Home. Zhou Xiaowen, winning an award is a big luck, especially a foreign award, and there is a lot of chance in the middle. I was a jury member at a film festival in Spain, and shortly after the film was opened, the jury on my left let out a faint snoring sound, and the chairman of the selection was a loud snore, and the Spanish film actually won the grand prize. Of course, the Oscars will definitely be much better, and its judges are members of the Oscars after all, but all in all, the film is hitting the luck of winning the award, and it is nothing if it wins the award, and it doesn't matter too much if it doesn't win the award. Wang Xingdong, marching into Oscar is equivalent to capturing a mountain, although only one can pull out the flag in the end, but it is already a success to be able to attack the foot of the mountain. There are so many movies in the world. Hero can be nominated for the Oscar is already quite good. There are too few movies in China that can go out. I admire director Zhang very much. He can show Chinese culture and language to the world through a movie, whether he wins the award or not. Zhang Yimou is already a hero. Is completely opposite to the insiders, but the general public, almost all of them are scolding the plot of the movie for confusing it, and they deserve not to win the award. And anyone can see that Zhang Yimou's heart is desperate for the Oscar, and he is a hero if he doesn't win the award. In 2003, the Chinese public was far less awakened than it was 20 years later, and the theory of victory and defeat and gold medal was still the mainstream. Especially after Ong Li on the Island won the award for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, everyone had high hopes for Zhang Yimou. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment, and the more disappointing, the more ruthless the scolding. Is different from the Chinese scolding. Hollywood is much more lively, and the entertainment section is almost slaughtered by the Oscars. Adrien Brody was crowned king and kissed Halle Berry. The Pianist became the biggest winner, winning Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Picture in one fell swoop. Nicole Kidman finally sealed the ban and made anti-war remarks. Eric Cooper staged a hero on the red carpet to save beauty, and Nicole Kidman had a fame and fortune occasion, handsome men and beautiful women just like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman back then. The reporter also went to interview Tom Cruise, who congratulated his ex-wife on winning the award and thanked Eric for his behavior. The Lord of the Rings received technical awards and a bunch of nominations, and Peter Jackson directly exploded in the face of the interview. Chicago lost to McTown, winning 4 technical awards and 1 Best Supporting Actress, but missing out on Best Picture. Before the Oscars, there were only 2 strong contenders for Best Picture, Chicago and The Pianist. And very suddenly, the Polanski sexual assault case, which had been silent for many years, was heated up again, and a large number of media began to report his black material. It is self-evident where this method of splashing dirty water comes from, and everyone in the circle knows that it is Harvey Weinstein, because this scene is too similar to the situation faced by Saving Private Ryan back then. At the 71st Oscars, Saving Private Ryan was the favorite to win the award, and not long before the Oscars were about to be held, the media broke a lot of black material. What veterans criticized the shooting of war scenes for being too fake, and the movie ignored those soldiers who sacrificed, etc. The result was a big upset in Shakespeare in Love, and Gwyneth Paltrow was sealed up. And this time the means failed, and the media gave an analysis of the reasons and insider reports. The first is that the impact of the US-Iraq War is very large, and the whole world is paying attention to this war, and the anti-war theme of The Pianist finally triumphed over the PR behind Chicago. The second is the sniping of Chicago, which analysts had predicted would break $300 million at the box office and run for at least after the Oscars. But the sudden entry of Sharknado and Chainsaw led to the box office of Chicago being cut in half. The original screening time was forced to be released more than a month earlier, and even though Miramax negotiated with the theater chain many times, it was useless for the Weinstein brothers to persuade him personally. Theaters have to consider profits, and when the profits are too low, don't talk about the Weinstein brothers. Disney's face is not good. Drawing ahead of schedule naturally led to a further reduction in influence, and the Oscar jury of more than 6,000 judges was divided around the world, and not everyone ate Harvey Weinstein's set. What do the juries who can't see the film choose? Of course, The Pianist has the advantage. Anyway, the failure of Chicago added to the grudge between MGM and the Weinstein brothers. In Beverly Hills, a black car is parked on the side of the road, and Charles walks out of the car with his intern brother Tony. Both of them have filming equipment on them, and their professions speak for themselves. They are reporters for the Los Angeles Times, and they came to guard Nicole Kidman. As an experienced entertainment reporter, Charles looked left and right, pointed directly to a place and said, "Go there, this is a good location. Everything that happens at the gate can't escape our eyes." Younger brother Tony obediently moved the equipment over, only to get closer and find a camera hidden behind the tree. "Boy, what are you doing?" "That's my place." Not far away, West, who is also an entertainment reporter, came running over eating a hamburger. The younger brother Tony looked back, and Charles immediately came up to negotiate. "Brother, I'm Charles Weiss, son of the Los Angeles Times. You should have heard my name in this industry. Nicole Kidman is my old client. This is my fixed position. You stepped on the line." West finished the hamburger in a few bites and stood in front of the machine without giving in. "Don't come to this set. I don't know what Charles Weiss, son. I only know that this position is my first place. If you want it, you should be earlier." "Young man, I don't like your tone. It seems that you are a newcomer and do not understand the rules of this trade. But if you want to develop your profession, it is better to follow my advice. What? Are you threatening me? Now Nicole Kidman's picture is worth more than $300. Give me money if you want, or get out of my turf. Boy, do you want to fight? Old fellow, you're looking for trouble, and if you want to do it, I'll beat you to the point where you can't find the north. The two sides sprayed each other for a few minutes, and the anger became bigger and bigger, just waiting for the other party to make the first move and then make a ruthless stroke. But whoever is a reporter is not a smart person. It is okay to scold people, but it is absolutely not okay to do it first. At this moment, the younger brother Tony pointed to the door and shouted, "Come out." State, copying the machine is a crazy shot. Tony, get ahead of your car and catch up with her. Okay, but didn't you say Nicole Kidman's car was a Rolls-Royce? Why did it come out with a Lamborghini? Leave this alone. None of these big stars have a bunch of luxury cars. That's right. Seeing Charles chasing Lamborghini and drifting away, West, who was lagging behind alone, couldn't help but feel annoyed. He was still too young. He really couldn't do this job alone, but unfortunately it was too late to chase now. He sighed and was thinking about whether to stay here or go to another star when he saw a Rolls-Royce drive out of the gate. West was stunned for a moment, then looked in the direction Lamborghini had left, and his mood was suddenly ecstatic. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to send it. This message is worth at least $2,000. With a blow to the steering wheel and the throttle to the end, West hurried to catch up with the Rolls-Royce. After talking to Spielberg that night, things were pretty much settled. MGM and DreamWorks relevant departments then began to work with each other to draft the details of the contract, which were then reviewed by the legal department to ensure that there would be no pitfalls that would be unfavorable to both parties. On Thursday morning, Eric received a call from Spielberg that the DreamWorks triumvirate would come to MGM in the morning to complete the final step of the process. At 9:30 in the morning, a Buick business car stopped in front of the MGM building. Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen walked down the car. The three of them have different positions at DreamWorks, such as Spielberg, who is best at live-action films. Jeffrey Katzenberg served as the executive director of Disney. He specializes in animated films, is known as an animation prodigy, and single-handedly led the production of The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and other well-known works. David Geffen focuses on music, and the reason why well-known bands or musicians such as the Eagles, Bob Dylan, Tom Waits, and Gunflower can rise rapidly is inseparable from him. In 2003, the full English name of DreamWorks was DreamWorks SKG, with S for Spielberg, K for Katzenberg, and G for Geffen. Seeing the three of them, Miss Manners and Volvo, who had been waiting in front of the building for a long time, came out to greet them and guided them into the conference room. As a sign of respect, both father and son were present at today's signing ceremony, and with the arrival of the big three, the two sides completed the meeting and shook hands. Just like a state visit, things have been negotiated in private and signing is a process. In just half an hour, when the names of several people fell one after another, the law came into effect, and MGM and DreamWorks Animation officially formed a strategic partnership. The two companies signed a contract to produce 5 animated feature films, each of which set aside a 10% stake for DreamWorks. If DreamWorks is not involved in the investment, it will be wholly owned by MGM, and DreamWorks will only play a production role. This partnership is not that DreamWorks is going to sell the animation division to MGM, but that it will give MGM projects the highest priority and the rest of the work will be accepted, but only if it does not affect MGM's projects. Jeffrey, for the Frozen project, the character design is almost complete, but the script and set design will take some time. You can do pre-production, and MGM will provide a complete script at that time, so that DreamWorks can get started. Katzenberg nodded slightly, and then proposed, "This movie Steven has already told me, adapted from Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale, The Snow Queen, made into full 3D mode. This is no problem. DreamWorks can do it. But I also have a suggestion, which is that I want DreamWorks to be involved in the writing process of the script and nothing else. After all, we will also invest 10%, and we all want to do the first work well. Katzenberg was tactful, but Eric could understand what he was worried about. He smiled and said, "Jeffrey, you don't have to. I like to have straight things up so we can communicate better." "I see what you mean. You're worried that MGM will be like Disney and can't get rid of the old habits and old patterns, right?" Yes, among MGM's animated films over the years, only one, Pink Panther, is better, but it is also an imitation of Cat and Mouse and Drubby. But I can tell you very clearly that this is not the time for Calcorian. Young people will use their young minds to tell a story of the past, and Frozen will only follow the trend, not go backwards. Why does Eric say that? Because Disney's operations in the field of animation in recent years have contributed a living negative example to the entire industry. Since the rise of DreamWorks and Pixar, especially after the birth of Toy Story, the first 3D animated feature film, the entire industry has ushered in a major reshuffle, officially entering the 3D era from the 2D era. But how does Disney do it? That's right, it swims against the current, not only still refusing to use 3D, but also saying that the animated characters made with computer special effects are pitiful. At the same time, Disney still uses the same old storytelling of decades ago, but the audience is no longer the same audience as it was back then. The new generation of audiences who are short of princes and princesses and parents don't buy it at all, and it's not a trend to use a few new stocks and say a few buzzwords. So, Cinderella 2 pounced very badly. Treasure Island also pounced very badly. Disney is like an old man trying to learn the new stocks of young people. He himself thinks it's very fashionable, but young people think it's nondescript. You don't hit the street. Who fights the street? DreamWorks is naturally worried that MGM will not be able to change his mind, and when the movie is released, it will be equivalent to pulling himself into the water. The two sides talked about noon all the time, and then settled lunch in MGM's cafeteria, and if they didn't see the big and small bosses there, they would definitely rush to Spielberg to ask for an autograph and group photo. "Steven, try this. You're going to love this dish," Eric said, pointing to the sweet and sour tenderloin. Since he crossed over, he specially sent someone to Chinatown to invite a chef in his 50s to come over, with a high salary of $20,000, specializing in Chinese cuisine. And it's not the American version of Chinese cuisine. He's used to the taste of the other side, and he really can't love the American version. When the master chef first arrived, MGM's employees were naturally eager to try it when they saw that the boss liked to eat it, but they were used to eating the American version and were not used to authentic Chinese food. But as time went on, after a few months, the master became more and more popular and succeeded in bringing back everyone's taste. Now he serves twice or even 3 times as much food as when he first arrived, but the high salary of $20,000 still makes the middle-aged man happy and can't keep his mouth shut. After lunch, Cooper and his son send the DreamWorks triumvirate out. As a result, as soon as he walked out of the gate, he took a few steps, and a large number of reporters rushed out of the surrounding corners, flowers, behind trees, and garbage cans to surround several people. Just when everyone thought that the reporter was going to ask about the cooperation between MGM and DreamWorks and take the opportunity to advertise for Frozen, the paparazzi had already put the microphone in Eric's face, and it was almost in his mouth. "Mr. Cooper, are you and Nicole Kidman dating? My colleague's wife was diagnosed with cancer, he was on vacation, and now I am alone in the office. Much busier than before, but it will still be updated normally. Generally speaking, 1 shift on weekdays, 2 shifts on weekends, and additional shifts depending on the situation. Containment and overestimation." In front of the MGM building, a large number of reporters seemed to come out of thin air surrounded several people. Volvo hurriedly called the security guards, but the reporter was not a hooligan, and the interview was not a disturbance, and coercive means could not be used, otherwise it would ensure that MGM would be condemned by the society. The security guards could only tear through the crowd with great difficulty, trying to rescue their boss first. Mr. Cooper, are you in a relationship with Nicole Kidman? Mr. Cooper, you were photographed leaving Nicole Kidman's villa yesterday in the evening, is it true? Mr. Eric, is the car in this picture yours? Eric Cooper, you and Nicole Kidman have been together for a long time, so they will be heroes on Oscar night to save beauty. Mr. Cooper, at the Vanity Fair party, Nicole Kidman kissed you. Did she take the initiative to invite you to spend the night to celebrate her Oscar for Best Actress, right? Faced with the siege of these crazy paparazzi, Eric was also stunned for a while. Looking at the Lamborghini who had just left the villa in the photo, who could it be if it wasn't his? It turned out that after he left yesterday, the paparazzi had already begun to investigate the owner of the Lamborghini. Until this morning, the results have come out and the car is naturally his. I don't know how it spread, so the current situation has arisen. I'm afraid it's not just him, but Nicole Kidman is also under siege by the paparazzi. By this afternoon at the latest, the news on the internet will definitely be flying all over the sky, and the print media will also rush to report it early tomorrow morning. Eric pushed the microphone away from him, trying to walk but couldn't get out. What's the situation, these guys? Have I been secretly filmed? Looked at the surrounding dad and the DreamWorks triumvirate. The four of them were not young and strong young men like him. How could they stand this kind of physical contact? Seeing that Spielberg's glasses were about to be squeezed off, Eric could only shout, "Stop! Stop! Everyone, stop! I'll answer your questions, but get out of the way. Don't keep the blockade, something will happen." With Eric's promise, the reporters slowly let go and made way for them. Spielberg straightened his glasses, looked at Eric with some surprise, and said, "Young man, you're really too popular." Jeffrey Katzenberg gave Eric an envious look, as if to say that you are lucky to have Nicole Kidman. As a gay man, David Geffen quietly gave a thumbs up behind his back and exclaimed, "It's good to be young." With a wave of his hand, the three old fellows rode away. Eric looked at his father, who hurriedly took a few steps back. Charlie Cooper thought to herself, "Son, this time you can ask for more blessings. You can do whatever you want, provided that you don't let your mother know. But now it seems that you can't hide it. I won't wade into the troubled waters this time." Seeing that the reporters were about to surround them again, Eric waved his hand to signal them not to worry. Taking a deep breath and organizing the language in his head, he said calmly, "I know what you want to ask. My answer is no. Nicole Kidman and I are not in a relationship, and I did not spend the night in her villa." "Mr. Eric, since you said no, how do you explain the photos?" a reporter asked aloud. Eric smiled, and his tone continued to be flat. "Interesting question. In fact, even if this matter is not photographed, MGM will announce it soon. The truth is that MGM has a new movie to make, but the heroine has never been decided. And at the Oscars, I suddenly realized that Nicole was the right person I was looking for. So at the Vanity Fair party, we talked about it and agreed to meet and talk about it." "Then why did you choose to meet at Nicole Kidman's villa? Shouldn't it be in a public place like a company or a cafe?" another stupid reporter asked. "Ha ha ha ha." Eric laughed dryly. "Does it matter where you choose to read the script? As far as I know, many celebrities will read the script at home. Why don't you ask them? Besides, if you're in a cafe, you will always meet fans when people come and go, so how can you study the plot with peace of mind?" Charlie Cooper nodded secretly. This answer was very reasonable, and I couldn't fault it. "Mr. Eric, why did you go to Nicole Kidman's villa alone, and why didn't you take the screenwriter with you?" the reporter asked again. Because I'm the screenwriter, it's enough for me alone. Okay, the matter has been clarified, and that's the end of it for today." After Eric finished speaking, he turned around and walked into the MGM building, And of course the reporters refused to let him go, and they instantly rushed to block him. The security guards immediately rushed over to block it and protect their boss. Mr. Cooper, please answer the last question. Are you saying that you are not only a producer and a director, but also a screenwriter? So, what is the genre of the film? What is the name? I think everyone is very interested in the next film selection of the Oscar-winning actress. Reporter of the independent newspaper asked loudly, breaking the casserole to get to the bottom of the matter, and these guys would not be satisfied if they didn't find out about the scandal between Eric and Nicole Kidman. Looking at this group of vampire leeches, Eric's face became serious. Okay, then I'll answer the last question, but after answering, I ask you to report fairly. I don't want a deliberate smear. Otherwise, MGM will launch a lawsuit against you for your remarks and the newspaper behind you. The film, called La Vie en Rose, is a biographical film that follows the legendary life of French chanson singer Edith Piaf. Eric blurted out a movie. Not only the reporter in front of him was stunned, but even the father behind him was stunned, and kept recalling that the company had this project. Although he handed over all the production power to Eric, not interfering does not mean that he is not clear, especially inviting the Oscar-winning actress to star. The cost must not be low, and it must go through his hands. And Eric turned around and left after speaking, thinking about what excuse to use to get out from the moment he was surrounded, thinking about going to a director's house, to a female star's house. It seems that there is only the option of reading the script. Fortunately, it wasn't caught at night. Otherwise, would the glow-in-the-dark script really fool the public for fools? His brain was racing to screen out the right movie, and the first thing that came to mind was The Queen Wears Prada, and it was only fitting for Nicole to replace Meryl Streep. But in a blink of an eye, I realized that this movie was an adaptation of a novel, a 2006 movie. The novel must have come out a long time ago, and there is a high probability that the copyright has been bought. If I say that MGM wants to work on this project, it is not a lie that will be exposed in minutes. Then I thought of Superbody, but it always felt a little wrong to let Nicole replace Scarlett Johansson. Nicole Kidman's temperament is high and cold, and she belongs to that kind of atmospheric appearance, which is suitable for aristocratic people, and it is very incompatible with science fiction movies like Superbody. The third thought of La Vie en Rose, a literary movie, and the style of this film is more suitable for Nicole. And the movie won the Berlin Golden Bear, Golden Globe, and Oscar in one fell swoop, and at the same time, various other genre awards were also soft. What's more important is that the box office is not bad. It is definitely a rare commercial literary and artistic film, and it is suitable to be used as a shield. Back in the office, Dad asked, "You didn't come home after Oscar. Did you really spend the night at Nicole Kidman's villa?" "Of course not, Dad. Why are you framing me like those gossip reporters? I'm your son." Charlie Cooper patted her head. "Okay, it seems to be true." "And the La Vie en Rose you mentioned, why haven't I heard of it?" There will be soon. Bell. At this time, the phone rang. Eric picked it up and looked, and sure enough, it was Nicole Kidman. He looked at his father and motioned for him to go out first. Dad shrugged his shoulders. "Eric, remember to prepare a set of rhetoric against your mother in advance. I really didn't expect the first one to be you. I thought it would be Joshua." With a wave of his hand, he asked his dad to close the door, and Eric answered the phone. "Hey, Nico, let me guess. There's a reporter going to besiege you, isn't it?" "Eric, why do you sound so happy? We were secretly filmed, and you were approached by those nasty paparazzi?" Nicole Kidman's annoyed voice came from the other end of the line. "I was surrounded at the MGM gate, and everyone witnessed the scene, including the partner I had just negotiated." "Oh, that's too bad. I just closed the door. Those paparazzi can squat if they want. Anyway, I'm not going to go out these days." "It's good. I should give myself a vacation, but I can't. There are a lot of things in the company, and I can't hide if I want to." Eric said with some envy. Can you still come and stay with me? Well, at least not yet. Let's wait until the heat cools down. I hope you understand, Nico. Eric paused and replied. The phone rang and laughed. I'm not a teenage girl. You don't have to try to coax me, but I want to know what you're going to do about it. In fact, I've already dealt with it just now. I'm the director and screenwriter. You're the actor. We're working on the script. It's as simple as that. Eric recounted what had just happened, and a sigh from Nicole Kidman could be heard on the other side. Eric, that's a wrong statement. You might as well hide back in the office. Have you ever wondered what if we can't get this movie? Eric laughed. Don't worry, this project does exist. You can see it when the script is completed, and you're satisfied. Really? I'm also an Oscar-winning actress, and a book with a poor level is not in my consideration. Nico, I'm embarrassed to sign the poor booked.
As
It turns out, Eric still overestimated the discipline of these media. Even if he has given a reasonable reason, the media automatically ignored his answer in order to attract attention. Except for a few major newspapers that are relatively objective, everything else is made up, although this is the truth. In the afternoon of the same day, there were scandals on the internet. Chicago Tylian, the new Oscar-winning actress, has a secret boyfriend, and it turns out to be the young master of MGM.
Los
Angeles Post, new Oscar-winning actress Nicole Kidman is emotionally exposed and falls in love with her 22-year-old boyfriend. Salt Lake City Entertainment News, a support on the Oscars contributed to the love affair between Eric Cooper and Nicole Kidman, and the mature actress couldn't resist the charm of a handsome young guy. American Entertainment Online, heroes save beauty or hormonal explosions. Nicole Kidman's 2-year window is finally broken. ABC Entertainment section, Transformers director Eric Cooper stayed at Nicole Kidman's villa for more than 3 hours to work on the new script, La Vie en Rose. NBC Entertainment Online, La Vie en Rose. The excuse is still true? Nicole Kidman hid at home and avoided talking about it. A piece of shit. Looking at these unscrupulous media reports, Eric slapped the table angrily, his hand H1. At the same time, he also had a premonition that it was not good. These paparazzi would definitely not let go of themselves, and they would not want to be stable wherever they went in the short term. Or maybe I'll go home and hide for a few days like her? But in an instant, I put this thought behind me. Just kidding, and my mother will definitely not let go of herself when I go home. Although she is a Catholic like Nicole Kidman, this kind of thing is not necessarily easy for the Pope to come, let alone a Catholic. You must know that Nicole Kidman is 13 years older than Eric, which mother is willing to let her son date a divorced woman who is more than 10 years older. Don't really think that American parents don't interfere in their children's marriages. They just won't urge marriage and go on blind dates for you. But not arranging and not meddling are two different things. Parents all over the world are interconnected, which is due to the emotional nature of people. After thinking about it, he called Xing in. Contact Susan. Just say that I will fly to Huaxia for a few days tomorrow. Try to arrange a meeting with the people of Huaying and put the affairs of the branch on the ground.
can't.
I hide if I can't be provoked. Naturally. I didn't go home at night, and there was a special restroom in the company, so I slept as comfortably as at home. Mom, how can you think that? The gossip media likes to make up nonsense and chase after the wind, and I really worked on the script with her, and I think Nicole Kidman is very suitable for the heroine. Eric explained into the phone. Of course, I always remember your advice. I will never mess around outside. Don't worry, I'm not Joshua, and it's impossible to mess around with a woman in her 30s. You don't have to worry about that. Don't worry. The scene you're afraid of will never happen. No woman will suddenly come to the door with a child in her arms, and if there is, it will only be Joshua's. Okay, I'll go to bed early. You should rest early, pay attention to your body, and ignore the gossip newspapers. I love you, Mom.